What do you call the jacket that John Byrne wears? A blazer. Welcome to Lassoed Volume 293. I can't believe we're at the middle of the month already. Hope that July has been treating you well, and I appreciate you stopping by today. There's a lot of John Byrne in this video. John Byrne autographs. Yes, with an S at the end, autographs. And we have some John Byrne comic books to share. We'll start with X-Men, and we'll kind of come full circle in the video and end with X-Men when I have an X-Men blind bag reveal from Dave's Hot Chicken. Let's get started. Let's get started today with one of the hottest books from a few weeks back, X-Men Elsewhen. This hardcover from John Byrne was not published by Marvel Comics. It wasn't even distributed with Marvel's distribution, but it was licensed through Marvel. Maybe about 7 or 8 years ago, John Byrne self-published this on his website. He would write a story and then draw a page at a time and just upload it to a site. It was fan fiction. Now it's become published. The concept he went with was, what if Jean Grey didn't die in issue 137 of X-Men, which was the original plan at the end of the Dark Phoenix Saga anyway, before Shi'ar intervened. So we get a look here, even though there's no Chris Claremont involvement, of what potentially could have been had they stuck with that original plan. John Byrne did the equivalent of 32 issues, and they're breaking them up into 3 different volumes. Originally, all 3 volumes were supposed to be out this year in 2026. But since that plan has changed, with one being released a year, this year, next year, and the year after. That kind of bums me out that we have to wait so long to get the entire collected edition. So when this was first offered, I don't think retailers placing their orders either understood what this was or misjudged the appeal that it would have. Because once it hit shelves, it sold out nationwide, including websites like Amazon, instantly. I know that there were some signed copies offered from Barnes & Noble, and another website or two had some authorized signed copies. Of course, I missed out on the chance to pre-order those too. And John Byrne autographs are rare. If you're a comic book fan or an autograph collector of comic book creators, you know how rare those are. I had wished I had one. So what I did was, the day before this book was announced, I called some Barnes & Noble stores in my area and I said, this book is coming out tomorrow. I know sometimes you have signed copies in your store. The website offered signed copies, but they're sold out. Would you have a signed copy tomorrow when it comes out? All the Barnes & Nobles that I called in my area said, no, we won't have a signed copy. We'll have the book, but we won't have a signed copy. But one in particular went a step further for me, and they said, well, let me look here. And he said, we won't have it in stores tomorrow, but it says here that I can order you a signed copy. And I'm like, really? Thinking that it will never happen. I said, yeah, go ahead and order me a signed copy and notify me. They came through for me. So check this out. John Byrne signature on the inside. I can't believe it. The day it came out and I saw how fast it was selling, I bought an extra unsigned copy just for myself because I didn't want to be without, thinking, fully expecting Barnes & Noble not to come through for me. How wrong I was. Better to have 2 than to have none. And now I have my signed copy, which makes it even more sweeter. You might remember that I did score a John Byrne autograph for myself on a Wonder Woman comic book, and I shared that in Comic Book Editions, volume 259. This X-Men Elsewhen is much different from his previous X-Men The Hidden Years. Some people confuse the two and think that this is X-Men The Hidden Years, and it's not. X-Men The Hidden Years was a series that he did, oh my gosh, 25 years ago or so, where he was telling what the original X-Men team was doing, because they were still active in the Marvel Universe at the time that their comic book was just publishing reprints. That's before it was like issue 67 through 93 were all reprints. So he was trying to fill in those spaces of what was happening in X-Men lore and X-Men folk at that time. I did end up picking up the X-Men Hidden Years Omnibus, and I shared that in Lassoed volume 286 earlier this year. But X-Men Elsewhen really excites me because It's a little guest star heavy, but that's the way it is with John Byrne's writing. He's just a little guest star heavy in everything that he does. His artwork doesn't so much look like the early 1980s. To me, it looks more like the work that he was doing at the end of the 90s, at the time that he was Wonder Woman's writer and penciler as well. It's that style of artwork, but it's still fun and reminiscent. I can't wait to get the other volumes in the next few years once it's fully complete. And having a signed copy of this is even more sweeter, especially because I honestly thought there was a 99% chance that Barnes & Noble would contact me and just say we weren't able to get it. So the fact that they were able to get it, kudos to them. So that was certainly a pleasant surprise. And don't believe that I couldn't get there fast enough to pick it up. Even when they called and told me they had my book, I said, could you look and see if it's signed? And they said, yeah, there's a signature inside. Blew my mind. So I mentioned in today's video that I have John Byrne autographs. And you saw one, but with an S at the end, we got to show the other one. So this was a book that John Byrne did back in like 1998. And one of his good friends was Joanna Sandsmark. And she passed away last year. It was July of 2025 when she passed away. This was her personal copy. Joanna was also the inspiration for the character Cassie Sandsmark, who would go on to become Wonder Girl in John Byrne's run of Wonder Woman. And this is personalized to her. You see a great inscription there. It says to Helena, and then it's crossed out. And then it says to Cassandra, and that's crossed out. Then it says to Joanna, and it's underlined. I knew it was one of them Sandsmark dames. Best, John Byrne. This was gifted to me from my friend James. Thank you so much, James, for sending this my way. I do appreciate it. I feel like a caretaker of this, and it's cool to have something from the personal collection of someone, you know, that would end up being involved with comic books. If you're not familiar with this is not a graphic novel because there's no artwork inside. It's like a regular novel. And it's about 320 some pages or so. And the basis of the story, I haven't read it in a long time, but I'm looking forward to going back and rereading it. But from what I remember of this, like the world's turned against Wonder Woman. And there was this televangelist that's kind of been pushing this anti-Wonder Woman ban. At the same time, Wonder Woman takes this gentle priest on a journey to Olympus. And they discover that Olympus is in turmoil with the gods and the goddesses, and Themyscira, her birthplace and the home of the Amazons, is lying in ruins after a big battle. So Wonder Woman kind of comes back to man's world, trying to reckoning everything that she just saw and still win over the trust of the public and spread her message of peace. At least that's how I kind of remember this to be. I'm looking forward to rereading this in the future. In addition to this awesome book that James gifted me, it came with several printouts of letters that Joanna Sandsmark had sent to DC Comics for the Wonder Woman title. I haven't gone all the way through to see if these letters have all been published. I know that she did have published letters for sure in the Wonder Woman Volume 2 comic book. And I haven't looked to see which ones got published and which ones didn't, or if they've been edited in any way, shape, or form. But I plan on doing that at some point. Gosh, there's probably maybe about a dozen-ish letters. One of them that stuck out to me, they were all typed up formally here. One of them that stuck out to me, she's writing to the editor of Wonder Woman in September of 1993. His name is Brian. She says, Brian, I have been trying to figure out why I didn't like issue 80 of Wonder Woman. One reason is that the title character only appeared on 4 pages of the 22-page story. That can't be the only problem, I thought, so I figured I'd read it again. Well, I still didn't like it. So, some great spunky humor there, and even in some of the other letters, you get a chance to see a little bit of some of her stationery that she had used from the computer that she had made with a little Wonder Woman image on there as well. So Joanna Sandsmark is from the area where I'm living at now. I never had the chance to meet her, but James, who gifted these to me, did know her and was a friend of hers, and he thought, since I'm a huge Wonder Woman fan, that this is where these belonged. And thank you, James, for sending these my way and making me the custodian and caretaker of some nice memories. Let's look at some John Byrne comic books that I've recently added into my collection. I have a feeling you're going to be seeing a lot of Fantastic Four comic books from now through probably the end of the year being added into my collection. One thing that I'm kind of focusing on, and I've mentioned this recently too, is filling in holes and extending runs that are in my collection. I've done that with Avengers recently. I did that with X-Men. As a matter of fact, with X-Men, I was able to do issues 96 through like 223 or 224 or something like that. So nice consecutive runs. That's what I want to work on. And Fantastic Four is another one of the titles that I want to do that with. We have a great cover here in a story that spotlights the Human Torch. It's Fantastic Four issue 233 from 1981. John Byrne cover, interior artist, and writer as well. At one point in the story, Thing is trying to hurt the Human Torch and tapes a picture, like psychologically hurt his feelings, and tapes a picture of Christopher Reeve with a mocking note about, this is what a real hero looks like. So get a little bit of DC Comics jab in there too on good old Johnny Storm. Let's jump a couple years right now. We've got a pink cover for Fantastic Four issue 259. We're at 1983 now. John Byrne had a really good run of Fantastic Four comic books as the creator. Reed Richards has been missing in this title. He disappeared at the end of Fantastic Four issue 257. We don't see him again until Fantastic Four issue 261. So essentially we got the Fantastic Three in this story. Human Torch, The Thing, and Invisible Girl / Invisible Woman. But this story is really focused on Terrax and the Silver Surfer are battling to see which one of those two is the greatest herald of all time for Galactus. But really it's Doctor Doom that's pulling the strings behind their battle. A very minor key appearance happens in this issue. Kate Dwyer has her very first appearance. Her second appearance happens in Fantastic Four issue 264, and in that issue she becomes Franklin Richards' babysitter. Still need to work on getting the Fantastic Four movie, the most recent one, into my collection, the one with Pedro Pascal. I enjoyed it, saw it in the theater, and I want to get a Blu-ray copy to have for my movie collection. Well, Reed is back as we look at this story here, Fantastic Four issue 262, also from 1983. This story was published, as you might be able to tell through the little corner box there, that it's Assistant Editors Month. And that was a theme that Marvel did this one year, where the assistant editors took over full editorial control while the main editors were off at various comic book conventions, including like SDCC. So the month was celebrated with jokes either in the story or on the cover, or maybe both. There's more fourth wall breaking in this issue, which is something that John Byrne likes to do. We even see John Byrne make his own appearance as himself in this issue. But the story essentially talks about the trial has begun. What is the trial? Reed Richards is accused of saving the life of Galactus. So he has to sit before a jury, but not one of his peers. Also appearing in this issue is Princess Llandra. Llandra hair, don't care. So we got some Llandra in here, and we'll find out if she finds him innocent or guilty. And then let's show another one here. We'll do 4 of these John Byrne issues for this Lassoed Loot 293 spotlighting John Byrne. Also from 1983, it's Fantastic Four issue 263 with a spotlight on Ben Grimm, The Thing. So who dares call himself the Messiah? Well, that's what the Thing and the Human Torch want to find out in this story. But not before they head to California, where they're greeted by a devastating earthquake. This issue also sees Reed and Sue now living in Bellport, Connecticut, starting in this issue. Vision of Vision and Scarlet Witch, his body is in this issue. He was like paralyzed. I don't even want to say paralyzed. He was just like taken completely out of commission. Maybe that's a better way to say it. After he tried to breach a null barrier around the Baxter Building that Annihilus had put up. That happened in Avengers issue 233. So that part continues over into this story. So 4 great John Byrne themed Fantastic Four issues for this Lassoed loot video today. So before I get started in this final segment, which is not John Byrne focused, I do want to remind you about my back issue of the week short that I dropped yesterday. It's Marvel comic focused. If you haven't had the chance to watch this short, I hope you'll take a moment when this video wraps up and check out the back issue of the week. So we started with X-Men and we end with X-Men. What is this thing? This is a little carrying case that my to-go meal came with at Dave's Hot Chicken. The day that I went to pick up at Barnes & Noble my autographed John Byrne book was the same day that Dave's Hot Chicken started an X-Men 97 Season 2 promotion. And they gave you the chance to get a Dave's Meal number 4, either meal and slider and fries, or bites and fries, with one of 4 figures. You could get Cyclops, Jean Grey, Wolverine, or Storm. I had never ate at Dave's Chicken in my life. And I picked up the book. I had to fuel up, and literally the restaurant was right next to the gas station. So I said, I think this is a sign. I'm not even going out of my way. Let's stop by and check this out. So I have one of the figures, and that's what I'm going to unbag today. I'm not planning on getting or collecting all of these figures. I just wanted to get one for the funsies of it. Which character am I going to get? I had someone tell me, who alerted me to this or wanted to make sure I knew about this. He and his friend went and got one, and one of them got Cyclops, one of them got Jean Grey. I would love to have Jean Grey if I could pick any. I looked at all of the pictures of my offerings, and they're all kind of the X-Men 97 from the future, which was like the beginning of the new season. Even though I'm not the biggest Apocalypse fan, I've been hanging in there and still enjoying X-Men 97. There's only 8 episodes. What's up with that? We got 10 episodes last season, and I still thought that was too short for a season. Now we're only getting 8. Bumming me out, guys. I want it to be Jean Grey. I'm going to predict that it is... I think it's Cyclops. One way to find out. Let's open it. If you have bought any of these, let me know what characters you got. So we find out together. My figure is... Look at that. Sometimes you get what you ask for. I got Jean Grey. That makes me happy. Oh, it's got a little stand to put her on. That's cool. I told the guy, I said, now pick me out a good one. Because you can't tell. All of them are bagged like this. So even the employees don't know which one they're giving you. It's not like a clear bag where you can see the characters inside. I like this. I am digging this. I am happy with this. Still not collecting the full set, but I think it's fun. I like it a lot. My chicken wasn't bad either. I actually would go back and order from them again. Had never ate there before in my life. That's a fun way to wrap up this Lassoed loot video. I do want to remind you that Fanboys Live the Retro Review, the greatest DC comic show on YouTube, comes up Sunday night at 8:15 p.m. Eastern, 7:15 p.m. Central, here on my YouTube channel. Make plans to watch, because it's always a ton of fun when you're there. Got another Lassoed loot for you coming up next week. Until then, thanks for watching Lassoed Loot Volume 293, Collectibles So Hot They Burn.